delegates. By my watch, it's a few minutes after 2:30. Welcome to all of you. This is the second session dealing with the theme of emerging manufacturing technologies. And if we can all please take our seats and settle down, we'll kick off the session. I am your chair and host. My name is Delon Madali. I'm head of the National Laser Center here at the CSIR, and I take this opportunity to welcome all of you. In order to kick off the session, and before we get going with the presentations and the welcome of our speakers, I'd just like to deal with a few housekeeping issues, some administrative announcements. So links and hashtags for Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram are listed on the program on page 6. If you could please refer to those. Please participate in those discussions. Kindly note that all of the sessions, and this session in particular, is being recorded. And recordings will be available on the website after the conference. There will be no live web streaming, live streaming on this particular session. If you could please set your cell phones to silent to avoid any interruptions during the discussions. And also kindly note that all speaker presentations will be available on the conference website from the 10th of October 2017. With those formalities being dispensed with, we'll then kick off into the program. And as I indicated, this is a continuation of the discussion of the theme around emerging manufacturing technologies, also known as advanced manufacturing, also known as Industry 4.0. Obviously, and you may know that when we talk about advanced manufacturing, it deals with quite a vast array of technologies associated to the technologies, so it can be quite broad. And in today's discussion, we'll continue with several of the themes around the challenges and opportunities associated to advanced manufacturing. I think if we listen to the discourse that has been going on and that continues, it's very much a case of understanding that we will need to participate in advanced manufacturing if we want to be competitive. And the challenge around this discussion and the debate is how we go about doing that. And with that sort of background in mind, we will kick off with each of the talks. There's 3 presentations that we have lined up. Following those talks, we'll kick straight into a panel discussion where I will pose some questions to the panelists. I won't take any questions during the presentation, so if you could please make a note of any questions that you have, and then we'll address them during the panel discussions where I'll open up the floor for further discussion. So, with that in mind, if we could then proceed into the program. The first speaker for today is Mr. Dan Nagy, who is Managing Director of Intelligent Manufacturing Systems International, USA. Dan's full biography can be found on page 74 of the program, but I will go through it briefly here. Dan oversees activities related to the Intelligent Manufacturing Systems International program, including general management, strategy, marketing, finance, the project portfolio, and outreach activities. Dan holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from Lycoming College in Pennsylvania in the US, and a Master's of Business Administration degree from Baker University in Kansas. And with that, I hand over the podium to Dan. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you organizers for inviting me here. It's great to be here again. These conferences, this is my second one I've been to. I've been to a manufacturing Andava down here too, and the turnout is really great and the content is fantastic. Unfortunately, I was a little bit under the weather today, and I missed all the other presentations today. So if I drift a little bit, it's a remnant of that. So first of all, I just want to give you just a quick overview. We are an international organization. These are our members, and we're supported here in South Africa by the Department of Science and Technology, and so that's the reason why I'm here today to talk to you. I found these two quotes. I thought they were interesting. Pierre Nanterme, CEO of Accenture, said, digital is the main reason just over half of the companies of the Fortune 500 have disappeared since the year 2000. I think that's remarkable. And Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum said, we must develop a comprehensive and globally shared view of how technology is affecting our lives and reshaping our economic, social, cultural, and human environments. There has never been a time of greater promise or greater peril. And I think that that last sentence really sums it up. It can be a great promise, but it can be great peril if you're not prepared. So I'm not going to go through this slide, but just leave it to say that Industry 4.0 gives us smarter supply chains, production technologies, products, and it reduces costs, makes better products, gets customers involved in the product's life cycle. So I'm sure that you've seen something similar to that a number of times today. There we go. So I picked this up from day one from Dr. Tulani Dlamini. Is South Africa ready for Industry 4.0? And I thought that was a really good question. And I don't know that that only applies to South Africa. I think it applies to just about everywhere. This is a really big push uphill. So this slide has to do with the World Economic Forum and how they rate countries according to their readiness to adopt these new Industry 4.0 technologies. And what they're looking at is overall environment readiness in terms of infrastructure, affordability and skills, and usage by individuals in the business and government areas. So, so there's the top 10: Singapore, Finland, Sweden, Norway, United States, Netherlands, Switzerland, United Kingdom, Luxembourg, and Japan. Most of these are from Europe. US is up there. Interesting. Germany isn't in the top 10, and they're the ones that really started the whole ball rolling with Industry 4.0. China is not there, and China has a lot of people. They're throwing a lot of people at manufacturing, but they're really not ready for these technologies throughout their country. So the questions are, is there something to be learned from manufacturers in other countries, and how can multinationals drive Industry 4.0 technologies through their supply chain, especially SMEs? And I wrote this in here because I had a really interesting conversation with a guy from Rockwell. And the conversation was about how their supply chain, how really Rockwell is more of a consolidator, and their supply chain is mostly made up of SMEs. And they need to drive some of these technologies down to that level, but they need help. They don't know how to do it. So, and then we've got Europe throwing tons of money at these new technologies, so it's really going to help. They're throwing 80 billion euros in their H2020 projects. So there are countries that are wanting to be at the forefront of this, and I think all of this money that they're throwing into it, you can see reflected in that top 10, the number of European countries that were in that top 10. So how can multinationals drive those technologies down through their supply chain? So, and that's sort of where we're trying to come in, and we're trying to help SMEs do that through our workshops and so on. But they don't always understand what the benefits are, and they don't have time to incorporate these into their daily routines and so on. So, and they don't have the financial ability to bring those in. So the challenges that we see when we conduct our workshops is that competing companies don't want to share. And even in these technologies, they don't want to share, even though they can share. These are not areas where this IP is really going to differentiate them as a company or their product. But trying to get them to open up is really one of the biggest challenges. So, is United States industry ready for Industry 4.0? And I put the word industry in there. I think the United States is ready, but is industry ready? So I was at a meeting a couple weeks ago in Washington, D.C., and they were talking about Industry 4.0 policy and so on, and I just was absolutely astounded at what I was hearing from the stage, and that is there are these new requirements from the Department of Defense that is pushing down cybersecurity technologies through their supply chains. So Department of Defense, they're, the Boeings, the Rockwells, the large companies are supplying these this large equipment to them and so on. And again, their supply chain is made up of a lot of SMEs. So they're at a quandary. How are they going to push these new cybersecurity requirements down through their supply chain? And so I asked a question. We have this, this network in the U.S. called the Manufacturing Extension Program. And there are 60 nodes throughout the U.S. and they are supposed to help manufacturers implement some of these new technologies. And so I asked this, the director was there, and the director said, we're in the process of making a new pamphlet. And I was just absolutely astounded. They're going to expect these SMEs to read a pamphlet and adopt new cybersecurity protocols in their business. It's not going to happen. So what's going to happen? They're going to overlook that and they're going to be vulnerable. So you're not alone in this area of adopting these new technologies. So as an organization, we believe it's critical that SMEs adopt these Industry 4.0 technologies. And we know that SMEs can't do it alone. They don't have the resources to do it alone. And that collaboration is essential. And we know that because we've gotten SMEs in the room and we've talked to them and we know how it works. So what we're offering to those people who do want to collaborate is help information of collaborative federations, and I'm going to explain what a collaborative federation is here in a minute, expert-assisted clustering activities, platform to assist SMEs adoptions of Industry 4.0, and then also the World Manufacturing Forum, which our organization also owns. And that's a platform where we discuss issues and bring in policymakers and so on to make them aware of what the challenges are. So what's a federation? What we're calling a federation is a formation of complementary organizations working together towards a common goal. Organizations don't normally do that. Organizations kind of wrap their hands around what they're doing and they want to protect that. So we're very fortunate that we've been able to accomplish this, and we found some organizations that fit well with us. One is the Aerospace States Association. This is every state in the United States that does anything in aerospace belongs to this organization. So we're working with them. With P2Sync, they're doing research in standards and so on, again, for the aerospace industry. And NACFAM is working in the area of policy. So we're working in the area of R&D, getting the word out and bringing policy in. So this, what we're doing together in this federation is we're launching a new project. And it's, the white paper isn't posted up on our website. It's going to be posted up hopefully by the end of next week. This is brand new. And what we're planning to do is to create an environment through workshops and through sessions where we can bring SMEs into these workshops and help them integrate these new technologies in their businesses. Because, again, they can't do it alone. So the expert-assisted clustering activities, I say expert-assisted because we've got these project coaches who are very experienced, many years doing research, and they help us with these activities. And what we try to do is we try to find like projects and bring them together, and we facilitate these sessions where we ask people to share IP and to create something a little bit bigger than what they currently have. So I'm going to quickly run through this and apologize for all the slides here, but I think this is important, just to give you a taste of how this works. So our first project cluster was for additive manufacturing in 2016. We had 38 projects that we brought in, and they were from all over the world, including South Africa. South Africa was a very important player because you provide the raw material. So they were interested in developing a database for materials properties. So brought them in for that, and this represented about 100 million in R&D. So it was pretty good sized meeting, and we had 6 project clusters form out of this meeting. So we select topics. You see in the background there our workers doing all the pre-work before these workshops. It's a very prescribed methodology that we use, anybody who attends, they have to share 3 things. It's a requirement. If they want to come to this, they have to share 3 things. And we have to know what their TRL level is of the things that they're sharing. So, and then we ask them on this list, what are you interested in? So out of that 38 projects, and they each had 3 things to share, they got to go and do some shopping and say what they were interested in, and then we weighted those, and these clusters kind of formed out of that. So this is the mother of all spreadsheets where we do that, but you can see, I don't know if you can see maybe on there or not, but doing this cross-referencing, you can see these clusters are kind of self-forming based on their interests. So here's a little bit closer look, and you can see how we have these things weighted with the things that they want to share, the organizations, what they want to share, and then cross-referenced over on this side. So then they self-form, and they start to work. So it's been a good adventure for us to do this. We're having another workshop in the Quad Cities in the United States on October 26th, and then we're doing another workshop at the World Manufacturing Forum in November. So we hold these every so often. Now I need to make an offer to all of you if you want to do something like this, if you want to lead a workshop, a project cluster activity, we're glad to help you do that. So our services are free to all of you because your government pays for membership in our organization. We pool all that money and we use it to advance manufacturing science. So we're in the process also of working on a new platform for SMEs, and I had to stop and think here because this is a brand new concept and my brain's a little mushy right now. But what we're hoping to do is link with an organization in Switzerland called Smart Factory. And they're focused on SMEs, and again, they're working in the area to integrate digital technologies into industries. So we're hoping to set up some of these centers as a trial in the United States next year, so we hope to launch this next year. And then this is actually, we're moving the World Manufacturing Forum into a federation also. Again, we're a collaborative organization, and we're going to now form a new nonprofit. We're spinning this off into a new nonprofit. We're going to be working with Confindustria in Italy and the region of Lombardia to form a new nonprofit. And it's going to be funded by those 2 entities plus the European Commission. So it's going to be a well-funded organization. And our desire when we started this was that we wanted this to be like the World Economic Forum, but specifically for manufacturing. So now we're realizing this dream. We have €1 million in funds coming to us next year, and we have a commitment for 5 years. So we're going to have the resources to actually put these working groups together and start really putting together some interesting papers and so on to help SMEs and multinationals adopt these new technologies. So this next event is going to be down in Monterrey, Mexico. I put a little advertisement in here. Fort in case there's a chance that you can come. This is one of the most unique venues I've ever been to, and I've been to a lot. This is an old steel mill that has been converted into a conference center, and you just can't imagine how cool it is on the inside. So, and the sessions all have to do with adopting Industry 4.0 technologies and new business models. So, just as a quick summary, IMS can help information of collaborative federations, provide expert-assisted clustering activities, create new platforms to assist SMEs in the adoption of these new technologies, and the platform for the World Manufacturing Forum to bring the policymakers into the discussion. So it's up to you how you want to be engaged. We're here and we're free, and it's an opportunity. Thank you.